is Monday afternoon, 3 o'clock. This is Queen City News Plus Live, coming to you live from the Blue Room here at Queen City News. I'm Derek Dellinger, alongside anchor Morgan Francis, meteorologist Brandon Lawson. We also have producer-director Austin McCollum here, and also director in training Amy Thompson, also in the room as well. So she'll be paying attention actually most of this weekend here while we do some of work and getting some more people trained on how to do all this stuff. Yes.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is a very beautiful thing. We do have it's been a bit of a busy weekend, to say the least, as far as the news goes. We do want to get to a story that we've kind of been following for a little bit first, which is the latest out of the Sycamore Brewing case that's kind of been going on. You might remember back in December, Justin Brigham, the man you see right there, he had been charged with basically, it was child sex crimes against a 13-year-old girl. He was caught naked inside of a room with a 13-year-old girl in Stanley County. He was later caught by police there. He's been in jail pretty much ever since. But there wasn't really a lot of action in court today.
No, I mean, this has been continued. You know, he is the former owner of what was Sycamore Brewing that has now gone through a complete rebranding. It's now called Club West Brewing. It has a brand new paint scheme, trying to kind of distance itself from, you know, its former owner, Justin Brigham, and all of his accusations. You know, when police found him also naked in his car in Stanley County as well. So again, some serious charges that he's facing. He was supposed to have a disposition hearing today, and a judge was supposed to set a trial date. That has now been pushed back. We don't yet have a date as to when it's been pushed back, is my understanding, unless you've heard something.
Yeah, I have not heard any differently, at least at this point. We should mention, though, as far as the continuance in the case, things like this, at least in the legal field, are not necessarily really all that unusual. We hear about court dates very occasionally, and they are continued for various reasons, sometimes due to scheduling conflicts, sometimes due to really any variety of reasons. If someone cannot be in courtroom that needs to be in there, it's part of the reason they do that. Or if there's a holdup in getting some information to either side, either the prosecution or the defense, that's usually what happens here. And it can be for really any reason. The judge did grant this. We're still working to get that next court date. But we should mention, and we cannot underestimate or undersay how much this has really affected the business that was Sycamore Brewing. And because
not to mention his family. You know, Sarah Taylor, his wife, filed for divorce and is now the sole owner of Club West Brewing, and is working to kind of reshape its image into something that it was, which was Sycamore Brewing was such a staple in our community.
They essentially closed the storefront, for lack of better words, for Sycamore Brewing. And they are undergoing that rebrand right now. But there's been this boycott of the brewing products as well, and it's had a big impact on business, and they're trying to rebrand just to separate themselves consciously from really all that happened back in December. Another big story that's happening right now, this is actually in Mexico, in Puerto Vallarta. It's usually known as a vacation spot, but it's kind of been anything but for the past couple of days or so. This was after the Mexican army there. They killed a drug cartel leader over the weekend, and it led to a bunch of violence, not only in the state where Puerto Vallarta is, but also in a neighboring state. It's led to at least 25 troops getting killed, and a total of about 73 people, if you include the other drug cartel members, others that may have been caught in the crossfire. It's been a lot that's been happening.
There has been some violent clashes that have erupted over the weekend in western Mexico. And the kingpin that you mentioned, El Mencho, I mean, the U.S. State Department had a reward of up to $15 million for information leading to his arrest. He was killed alongside 8 other cartel members. So this was a huge operation. The U.S. was not involved in terms of personnel, but it was involved when it came to intelligence on the operation. The Mexican military led this operation. So you were going to say something?
Yes, you have to. We should mention here that as far as El Mencho's track record here, he's been known for trafficking fentanyl, cocaine, and meth into the U.S. And he was known for staging attacks also against Mexican government officials as well in the country. Now,
in terms of his notoriety, I mean, he's right up there with El Chapo. I mean, he's one of the top targets that U.S. and Mexican authorities wanted to take down.
And we did get some information on how they were able to catch him, or at least track him down. And apparently, they had been tracking like one of his romantic partners. One romantic partner showed up, and they're okay, he must be here. And then that's how they were able to get to him. We should mention that the Army there also did kill another leader that's offering $1,000 for every soldier that was killed. And again, we should mention at least 25 soldiers have been killed in that country. But the cartel members, this is what's led to some of the violence that you see
Right.
right there, some of the fires and everything like that. Cartel members, they responded by blocking roads and setting fire to cars, but there's also been all
That's
this
kind of
other violence
that, and
happening
that's a
too.
tactic that they use
Hmm.
to stop any sort of military operation or
Hmm.
police from doing their
Yes.
job, is they set fires to cars and kind of block
Yeah.
their route. Now, the U.S. State Department has told
Yeah.
U.S. Americans to shelter in place until further notice. There are people who are on vacation there.
Yeah.
Spring break is coming up as well, which
Yeah.
I'm sure will change a lot of plans.
Yeah, and it's not only in Puerto Vallarta; it's in at least several other Mexican cities as well, because they
Hmm.
are worried about retaliation attacks and also basically fears for people's safety.
Yeah, airlines too. We got
Yeah.
Southwest and Alaska Airlines that confirmed that they canceled flights to that area.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a very serious issue and scary for the Americans who are there right
Definitely.
now.
Yeah.
I want to get to the latest in tariffs. So, let's catch you guys up to speed here. The Supreme Court ruled against the targeted tariffs that were imposed by President Trump under the Emergency Powers Law. Immediately after that, he announced a 10% tariff that he has now pushed up to 15%. Under the U.S. Trade Act of 1974, that basically allows the president to tack on some short-term tariffs, so 150 days,
Yeah.
and the max is 15%. Now he's kind of telling other countries, if you don't honor the agreement that we had in place on the tariffs, that he is going to leave this blanket 15% tariff in place, and that's going to hurt some countries that had negotiated a lower tariff.
Yeah, not only that, he's also threatening them with higher tariffs as well if they decide to, for lack of better words, fight it, or at least honor what the Supreme Court at least had decided. Now, the Supreme Court, in their ruling last week, they made a point of saying that the power of tariffs actually lies in the hands of Congress, not the president. The president did not really take that all that very well, because there was this press conference where he basically lambasted the decision for the Supreme Court. The State of the Union, by the way, it is tomorrow night,
Right.
and there's a very good indication that that will probably be one of the things that will be mentioned on the list of things for the State of the Union tomorrow night. So it's bound to at least come up at least tomorrow night more, to at least come up at least as the more. It could be also a subject that basically could be part of the policy for because if at this point they need to make these permanent, that's going to require an act of Congress. Congress, at least the Republican leaders, they say they are open to this, and then, in fact, some of them were both welcoming the decision from SCOTUS, basically saying, "Hey, you can't do
Right,
this
do this without our permission, essentially.
but they are open to actually extending the tariffs in a legal sense through Congress."
Yeah, still a lot of questions, too, in terms of whether or not these tariffs that these companies had paid that the Supreme Court has now ruled were not valid, what their refunds look like, when that would happen. So stay tuned for any developments on that one. Some interesting news out of Florida that actually has ties to North Carolina.
Yes, there was. You probably saw this over the weekend. There was a man that was killed after basically going past the perimeter at Mar-A-Lago down in Florida. Mar-A-Lago, of course, is the president's home, basically away from home, away from
He
the White
spends
House.
most weekends there. He wasn't there this weekend.
He was not
but
there
he
this
usually
weekend.
does.
But the man that was killed, he was from North Carolina, specifically Moore County. His name is Austin Martin. He's believed to be in his 20s. And Martin, he'd been reported missing out of Moore County just right before this shooting had been reported by some family members. And what's interesting here is that not only we're trying to get a picture of this guy, as far as like not necessarily an actual like picture, but kind of like, who was this guy?
Like, what was the reasoning, right? And I think authorities are trying to figure that out, because he really doesn't have any sort of a history aside from the missing person report that his family filed.
Yeah.
He allegedly drove into that secure perimeter that you were talking about as another vehicle was exiting, and this was like at 1:30 in the morning on Sunday. He had a gas can with him as well as a shotgun, and authorities told him to put everything down. He put down the gas can, but then allegedly raised the shotgun, and that's when they shot and killed him.
And now we do know that the shotgun itself was actually bought on its way to Florida. A cousin that was interviewed by the Associated Press did say that Martin, he worked at a golf course as a golf course groundskeeper. He lived in Moore County, which is where Pinehurst is, so that isn't necessarily too much of a surprise. But they say that he also wasn't interested at all in politics or guns. Now, we did go to Moore County yesterday. Queen City News reporter David Schumann and a photographer, they did go there, and they did notice a large law enforcement presence there in the town of Cameron, which is where where he lived. But beyond that,
his residence was kind of at the end of what's described as a sandy, rugged dirt road.
And that part of the country, it's all sand. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So yeah. But yeah, we're still working to find out more about him. And as we get all that information,
well, and, keep in mind the history of what has led up to this.
Yes.
We had Ryan Routh found guilty last year and sentenced to life in prison for aiming a rifle on Trump's golf course.
And then there's that other assassination attempt.
Thomas Crooks, the attempted assassination at a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. So there have been a lot of highly publicized incidents with Trump in recent years when it comes to safety concerns around that.
Yes.
On a lighter note, want to get to
definitely lighter.
Yeah, some snow that the Northeast is dealing with here. Just pounding Connecticut today. Blizzard-like conditions, heavy snow, damaging winds. There's been thousands of power outages there.
Yes, there's a blizzard warning, also travel bans in effect for that area as well. Now, the video that you're seeing right now pales in comparison to actually what is happening there right now, because about 500,000 people are without power. 2 to 3 inches of snow coming down per hour. I took a look at the National Weather Service forecast for Boston, just out of sheer curiosity. Daytime accumulations of 11 to 17 inches of snow possible.
Okay.
Imagine that.
Well,
I think we did a few weeks ago.
We did.
What do you mean imagine that?
Well, we had roughly, but I mean that's on top of kind of what they've already seen.
Yeah.
So we're talking at least 2 feet of snow. Like it's more than what we got here a couple of weeks ago, but also on the same point though, it has a lot of snow, and it's enough because in the Northeast, it takes a lot to close down schools.
Right,
That's closed down the schools.
They're pretty used to this, and in comparison, I don't know what the kind of makeup of the snow that they're getting, but the stuff that we got was really light. I mean, we could
it's powdery.
Sweep it right off of our driveway, so it wasn't a big deal. I'm sure what they're getting might be a little heavier and cause for concern.
Yeah, some of them were calling it a snow-a-cane because it is a bomb cyclone. So yeah,
they always like to come up with names. For this stuff
and it's just a lot that's out there right now.
Can't stand that name, man.
Snow-a-cane.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
All right, we hit a button.
But speaking of snow. This is in Blowing Rock right now, downtown Blowing Rock, and you can see it's a little windy, a little bit snowy out there.
Looks almost like a snow-a-cane. Is that what it was? What'd you call it?
Snow-a-cane.
Snow-a-cane.
Yeah, some people have called it a snow-cane.
Derek's onto something too with that nor'easter, the northeast. I mean, if this was hurricane season, the pressure dropped, I believe, 960 this morning, so it would have been equivalent to like a Category 2 storm, a hurricane, if it was hurricane season. But no, this is a very powerful nor'easter. Honestly, one of the strongest we've seen in almost a decade for the Northeast. And you mentioned the word bomb cyclone, the phrase there, and that's not my least favorite phrase in the world, but you see it in the headlines all the time. Major bomb cyclones hitting the Northeast, or you see it sometimes as you're out west as well. But the thing is, with the bomb cyclone, it's really just an area of low pressure that's rapidly intensifying. So you have millibars, and we're talking about pressure. So whenever an area of low pressure drops by 24 millibars within 24 hours, that is what we call bombogenesis, or the bomb cyclone. The reason I don't like the phrase bomb cyclones because when you think of a bomb, you think of something exploding. And when you think of a cyclone, a lot of people will think about hurricane. So, but you can see that this visible satellite, I mean, this is a beautiful storm. It's still kind of clearing out in the center. So it's not necessarily an eye. It's just kind of what we call warm seclusion, where warmer air is kind of intruding in there towards the center of the area of low pressure. But still a lot of snow happening over the Northeast right now. Just, again, it's a beautiful looking circulation. But, man, on the ground there, with some of those damaging winds, combining that with the heavy snow, nearly zero visibility for some areas. So again, that is just one of those things where you're talking about very dangerous winter weather conditions. Now look at some of the snow totals on radar. Derek was mentioning Boston, 11 to 17 inches. How about 28 inches for spots around Philadelphia? I mean, you're talking about well over 2 feet of snow in some areas, and that snow just continues there. Now, we are dealing with the snow here locally, too. Still some snow showers continuing there in the mountains. We've got winter storm warnings that continue through the rest of the day for Ashe, Watauga, and Avery County. And that is because of that northwest snow there, northwest upslope snow, where you've got the air rising over the mountains, cooling and condensing, and that is creating that snow there. So again, very cold weather here. Temperatures only in the 40s, feeling more like 20s and 30s. We'll talk more about the forecast here closer to Charlotte. He'll be up in just a little bit, guys.
I will say it was awfully chilly out there this morning.
Yeah.
But compared to
Windy.
Blowing Rock, though, it didn't really have the snow, but it was still definitely
Still
jacket
cold
wet
out
today.
there.
We've been talking a little bit, especially if you watch our Queen City News Plus program Ground Control, about the possibility of going back to the moon. Well, there was a plan. Derailed a little bit, but actually was for a pretty good reason. We'll be telling you about that as far as going back to the moon, as far as what exactly happened here, and if there's actually a date that they're going to be redoing this. That'll be coming up next. This is Queen City News Plus Live.
Welcome back to Queen City News Plus Live. We have some breaking news just into our newsroom. We want to tell you about the runway at the Charlotte Monroe Executive Airport is closed after an aircraft overturned while landing. You're taking a live look at the downtown area right now of Monroe, where Monroe officials say it was a single-engine piston aircraft, and there were 3 people on board when it crashed, and the aircraft crashed approximately 200 to 300 feet from the runway.
Yes, the airport, by the way, is just on the outskirts of Monroe, and we do know that all 3 people that were injured, at least in this, and as you can see, picture there of that crash, they were taken to Atrium CMC with non-life-threatening injuries, so good news at least in that front there, but the runway right now is closed. They're working to clear out of the way. FAA is also en route to do an investigation as well, so as we get any new updates, we will pass them along at qcnews.com. Also have an update coming up on Queen City News at 4. On to some other news now. There was another crash to tell you about. This one was, shall we say, a little bit more down to earth, and this one also happened in Oklahoma.
This one is just odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, so this is one of those demolition derbies where you see the cars, obviously they're already beat up, and they're supposed to drive around and kind of crash into each other. One of the cars just drove into the crowd past that safety barrier that you can see. You know, one news outlet said one person was injured. Another news outlet say several were hurt. It doesn't sound like any are life-threatening, but this happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yes, it happened over the weekend, and the one thing that we've been able to gather here is that no one was severely injured.
Right.
But we do know that the barrier did hit a couple of people because you probably saw from the video there, it went through that barrier, and it.
Just
some people
going.
were hit.
So
some people were hit. It's just a matter of how severe it wasn't. But we were told again, not necessarily severe, but we know at least one person did have to be taken to the hospital as a result.
Also making the headlines across the pond, I guess. The British Academy of Film and Television Arts had their big award ceremony over the weekend, and there were multiple outbursts that were caught across the airwaves, right? And it was. The crowd was already prepped that this might happen.
Yes.
So there was a Tourette syndrome advocate, John Davidson, who was in the crowd. He was the subject of a nominated biopic called I Swear. And the host had said, hey, this person is in the crowd. You might hear some offensive language that he cannot control because of his Tourette syndrome.
Yes. The British Academy Film Awards are basically the British equivalent of the Oscars. And there was one specific thing that he did say while Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were on stage. And it was a racial slur.
Right.
And the host of the show did apologize for the language afterwards. However, the BBC, which broadcasts the show, they have come under fire because, first off, it was a recorded event, and secondly, they did edit out something in regards to some other comments that were made about in support of Palestine, but they did not edit this out, and there was a firm belief that they should have, at least in this circumstance.
I mean, it's offensive language, right?
Yes.
I think that.
You
would think it goes without saying.
Yes. But the BBC has also apologized since then as well.
Yeah, and there was someone else who came out and said Tourette syndrome it's a disability, and the tics you've heard tonight are involuntarily, which means a person who has Tourette syndrome has no control over their language. We apologize if you are offended tonight.
Well, and then the pushback on this is that the apology shouldn't be more to the viewers as it should be to Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, since they were on stage at the time that this all happened as well. So that's something you're probably bound to be hearing about, at least in the next few days. As we mentioned before the break, there has been this delay in trying to get another rocket to the moon. NASA is delaying Artemis 2 But this is actually for a pretty good reason because there was an issue that actually showed up apparently over the weekend.
It's with the helium flow through the rocket, and I'm no scientist, but it basically helps to protect the engines and keep the fuel tanks at the right pressure, right? Yeah. So they had just announced, by the way, that it was supposed to launch in March. Just announced that on Friday. Yeah. Now it's been pushed back. I don't know if they have an exact date at this time. So basically, the reason it's been pushed back so far and isn't just something that they can tinker with and figure out like a car or something, what's going wrong. They have to take it completely off the launch pad and bring it to their massive hangar in order to figure out what's causing it. Interestingly enough, this was the same issue with the Artemis 1 launch in 2022.
And I will say I remember covering that one my time in Florida. And
Producer Austin, by the way.
Thank you. The big thing with the Artemis rocket is it is the heaviest rocket we have ever launched in NASA's history. And so moving it back and forth, you risk having this structural damage done to it, which obviously with what happened with Challenger is something they want to avoid. So it is a very, they don't make that decision lightly.
Yeah. Yes.
It's 4 miles away where they're taking it.
Yeah, and they're saying, too, that at the very least, this could be a bad filter, a valve or connection, and then they were able to discover it when they did, which could help prevent an issue in the future, especially if they're trying to take this thing to the moon.
A bad valve can push back a launch.
It's got to be as perfect as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when it comes to safety. And some of it is out of an abundance of caution, but you also have to figure as well, if those tanks can't get pressurized, something could happen, and it could be just one small thing that can lead to it.
And I will say a little promotion here. We have a new episode of Ground Control. This one's coming out next week, but we have a representative from the Florida Space Coast Board of Tourism who talks about all of these people who plan trips around going down to Cape Canaveral to see these launches. Yeah. And obviously now some people are probably rebooking trips, maybe calling it Airbnb.
So. I mean, fortunately, when I went to Cape Canaveral and the launch was scrubbed, this was years ago. I was living in Fort Myers, so it was a long drive, but it wasn't an entire trip planned around seeing a launch. But it still is pretty cool when they go up, and
it's one of the coolest
love
things.
to watch it. Yeah.
If you can ever get a chance to do it, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was like the last shuttle launch, like when it was also still living in Fort Myers. The sonic boom that came really early.
Yeah.
So,
all right, Brandon, you're the odd one out.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, believe it or not, like space, I just haven't really had a chance to really get into it as much as I thought.
You're more concerned with the stuff that's closer to the ground.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, more of like the Mother Nature side of things. Yeah. Meteorologist Andrew Brightman's definitely he's the one that tells me all about the different space stuff going on, and May-K obviously too does a lot of cool stuff with that too. But yeah, just kind of talk about how cold it is, how rainy it is, and the different science behind it,
and how windy it is.
Yeah, yes. I'll tell you what, guys, this has definitely been a big turnaround from what we experienced in last week. Last Friday we had the warmest day we've ever had in the month of February here in Charlotte, and now we're talking about temperatures struggling to get out of the 30s and 40s again. So cold air's return to start the week. We're turning milder though by the middle of the week. So by Wednesday, we do get back near the 60-degree mark again. And we have some rain moving again for later this week on Thursday too. So temperatures right now only in the teens in the mountains. So very light and fluffy snow continuing to fall there. And then as you're getting a little bit closer to Charlotte, only in the lower 40s, 42 degrees right now in Charlotte, but it feels like freezing. It feels like 32 right now in Charlotte. It feels like 25 in Hickory. It feels like 3 degrees in Boone. And that is all because of that wind that Morgan was just alluding to. That cold wind continuing to make it feel like it is much colder than what it actually is out there. So as we get later into the afternoon, still going to feel like single digits in the mountains, going to feel like 20s in the foothills, and feeling like 30s here towards the Charlotte metro. So winds will continue to howl out of the northwest. We're talking about gusts around 20 to 30 miles per hour in Charlotte, 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts in the mountains. But winds should start to calm down a bit overnight tonight. We start to see more of those gusts around 10 to 15 miles per hour, and then gusts probably around the same as we go into the afternoon, 10 to 15 mile per hour gusts tomorrow. So again, it's going to be less wind, and the wind's going to be more out of the southwest, which is more of a warmer breeze for us. It'll still be a chilly day tomorrow, but not as chilly as today for sure. The nor'easter, a big reason for our weather pattern. It's dragging down so much cold air from the northwest. So again, with these powerful areas of low pressure, it's so strong that's creating big temperature gradients across the northeast and the eastern U.S. So essentially, all that air is wrapping around the area of low pressure. It's just dragging in so much colder air from the northwest. And it's also dragging in moisture up against the northwestern facing slopes of the mountains. And they're dealing with upslope snow showers there. So they've been seeing about, I'd say, 4 to 8 inches of snow here over the last 36 hours or so. Up in the high country, I know Grandfather Mountain reported 7.5 inches of snow just this morning from the snow they received yesterday and overnight last night. And the snow will continue there, I'd say, through the early portions of tonight before we dry things out. It's a nicer day tomorrow overall, more up in the mountains, more sun. Still very cold up there, but not as blustery as it is today with the winds. And then as you're looking towards the afternoon for us here in Charlotte, we're also going to be on the drier side. Lows tonight dropping into the teens in the mountains, 20s towards Charlotte, so a hard freeze. Tomorrow's highs going to be in the mid to upper 40s. And when you look at the weather pattern, again, 60 on Wednesday, and then we get rain moving in Thursday afternoon, evening, maybe a few showers on Friday morning, and then we dry things out. A pretty pleasant weekend on Saturday and Sunday, guys. Mid to upper 60s, more sunshine.
Oh, yeah. I was peeking at that 7-day forecast, and that looks really
my birthday's on Saturday, so yeah,
Happy
definitely
birthday.
Appreciate it. Definitely hoping it was going to be nice. It looks good.
Yeah. You got any plans?
Just probably chilling. You know, my big birthday present was going to the Panthers playoff game, so shout out to my girlfriend Anna for that.
Yeah, that was
There you go.
God, that was such a
But
good season.
24 tomorrow. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, we do have a special programming note for something that's going to be coming up tonight. We have our annual Black History Month special. It's going to be coming up tonight at 7 o'clock, not only on TV, on Queen City News, but also on Queen City News Plus. We are very proud of the work that we have done there, and you will be seeing it coming up just a little bit later on tonight.
Our team has been working really hard on this one. The
Focusing
theme is
on-
generational wealth, so I think it's going to be a really great special.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching Queen City News Plus Live. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
I'll be safe.
Generational wealth.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.